Your mother hid 340,000 from me across 4 separate accounts for 11 years. I found it. I took her to court. I won, and somewhere in all of that I lost you. That's the whole story in 4 sentences. I could stop there, but you deserve to know how it happened. Not the legal version, not the version your mother told you, mine. Because there are things about your father you need to know, things that don't make me look good, and I'd rather you hear them from me. Before I get into it, if you're watching this and you're not Sarah, if you stumbled onto this channel, and this story is already hitting close to home, hit subscribe to Familix's Revenge, more real stories, told straight. No filter. Now, let me tell you about a Sunday afternoon and a blue folder. I'm not going to describe myself the way people do when they want you to feel sorry for them. Retired civil engineer, 62 years old, 30, 4 years of marriage. That's the resume. Here's what actually mattered. The house Carol and I bought in 1993 still has the original kitchen cabinets. She always said she'd redo them next year. Every year next year. I stopped bringing it up sometime around 2011. That's a marriage in one detail. The things you stop mentioning, because it's easier than having the conversation. Sarah, you used to wait by the living room window when I came home from work. 8, 9 years old. I could see your face from the driveway before you saw me. I'm including that detail here, and I'm not going to explain why. You already know why. The marriage was what it was. Not a lie, but not what it looked like from the outside either. I came home every night, ate dinner, watched TV, went to bed. I knew something was cold between us. Knew it for years. You know what I did about it? Reorganized the garage. Twice. I'm not proud of that. I'm telling you because it matters for the rest of the story. Carol was smart, patient, careful. She managed the household finances because she was better at it than me, and I trusted her completely. 34 years. I never once asked to see the accounts. Didn't occur to me to ask. A man who reorganizes garages instead of having hard conversations isn't going to audit his wife's bookkeeping. I want you to know who we were before I tell you what happened. The cold marriage, the unredoned cabinets, your face at that window, all of it. Because what came next makes more sense if you understand what we'd already become, or maybe what I'd allowed us to become. Those aren't the same thing, but they're not entirely different either. It started with a blue folder and your university acceptance letter. You called, asked me to dig it out. You wanted to show it to someone at work, some sentimental reason I can't remember now. Top drawer of the filing cabinet. Found the letter right away. Underneath it, in the same folder, was an envelope I didn't recognize. Bank statement. Carol's name only. Opened 11 years ago. Balance I won't put in this letter, because some numbers you shouldn't see from me first. I read it twice. Put it back. Went to make tea. I want to tell you it was dramatic. That the room spun, that I sat down hard, that some physical thing happened to announce that my life had just changed. It didn't. My brain does this thing when something is wrong. It just starts working. Problem-solving mode, like one of my engineering reports. Identify the variable. Trace it back. Build the picture. 2 hours at my laptop. By the end I had 3 accounts, different banks. Irregular amounts. Never enough in any single transfer to trigger an alert. Smart. Patient. 11 years of patience sitting across from me at dinner every night. Then I found the detail that changed it from financial betrayal to something I still don't have a word for. Part of my mother's inheritance. Money that transferred into our joint account 4 months after she died had been rerouted into account 2. My mother had been in the ground 4 months when that happened. I sat there looking at that date for a long time. I didn't tell you, didn't tell anyone. For 3 weeks I ate dinner with Carol, watched TV, discussed whether to repaint the hallway, slept in the same bed. I kept waiting to feel something that would break through the planning mode. It didn't come during the day. Week 2, 2 in the morning, I went through old photos on my phone. Found our 30th anniversary, both of us squinting into the sun, Carol laughing at something I'd said. I deleted it. Immediately tried to get it back. Couldn't. Sat on the bathroom floor for a while. I'm telling you that because I need you to know I'm not the machine you think I am. I just learned a long time ago that the machine is easier. I called my lawyer Marcus on a Tuesday. Not from home, from my car. Parked outside my old office building. I don't know why I drove there specifically. Just felt like the right place to make that call. Some association with being competent. Being a person who solved things. Marcus asked the right questions and I gave him clear answers. He said my position was strong. Then, before we file anything, have you spoken to her? I said not yet. He started to say he'd recommend it. I told him I knew what he'd recommend. There was a pause. He said, "When you're ready." And that was that. I'm including that exchange in this letter without comment. You can decide what it tells you about me. Over the next 2 weeks I built the case. Account statements printed at a copy shop 3 miles from home. I paid cash, which tells you how deep into a particular mode I was. Transfer records mapped against dates. The inheritance diversion traced clearly back to source. It was, if I'm being honest, the most organized I'd been in years. There's something wrong with that. I know there's something wrong with that. 3 days before filing, I drove home, sat down on our sofa, and almost told her. Carol was in the kitchen. She came out with 2 mugs of tea, sat across from me, turned on the TV. We watched 20 minutes of a news segment about road construction somewhere in Ohio. I said nothing. She said nothing. I took my mug to the kitchen when it was empty, said I was tired, went to bed. I've thought about that night more than I've thought about most things. I don't know what would have happened if I'd said something. Still don't. But I want you to know I was close. Closer than I've admitted to anyone else. Your Uncle Dennis figured something was wrong from a phone call, said he heard it in my voice, and showed up at the door 2 days later. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, which is more than I deserved. Then he looked at me and said, "Does Sarah know?" I said after. He said after what? I said after it's settled. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "James, even if you win this, who's going to give you Sarah back?" I didn't answer. Filed it under deal with later. Same drawer where the marriage had been sitting for 11 years. The accounts were frozen on a Tuesday morning. I arranged it with Marcus. Clinical. Clean. She found out when her card declined at the grocery store. She called. I watched her name on the screen and let it ring. Was that cruel? Yes. I knew it was. I did it anyway. I want you to know that I knew. She came home 2 hours later. I was at the kitchen table with the folder in front of me. She saw it. She sat down without taking off her coat. The refrigerator hummed. I'd never noticed it before, all those years, all that noise in the house. Now I could hear it clearly. She said, "You know." Not a question. I said yes. She asked how long. I said 3 weeks. She closed her eyes, opened them, told me in stages, like someone letting air out of a tire slowly, hoping you won't notice the flat. I already knew the number. I let her say it anyway. Then she said she'd been scared. I said 34 years and one honest conversation. She started to cry. I didn't move. She tried to explain, brought up a fight from years ago. Something I'd said about wondering what life would have been like if we'd gone different ways. She said that's when it started. And the thing is, I do remember saying that. Faintly. Didn't mean it the way she took it. Or maybe I did and didn't know it. Either way, I sat there with the folder and didn't say so. She asked what happens now. I said Marcus would be in touch. She stood up, picked up her bag, walked out. The door didn't slam. I've thought about that too. Slamming would have been something. The quiet close was worse. 2 days later, going through documents for Marcus, I found a letter in the filing cabinet. Second drawer. Carol's handwriting. Never sent. Addressed to me, dated April 2013. She was asking carefully, gently, whether we should consider separating. Said she felt invisible. Said she'd sent signals for years, and didn't know if I missed them or ignored them. Said she loved me but wasn't sure I loved her back, or just loved the life we'd built. April 2013. 3 months before account 2 was opened. I stood there for a long time, then I put it back. Didn't tell Marcus. Didn't tell Dennis. Didn't bring it up in any legal proceeding. I'm telling you now, just the fact of it. What it made me feel, I'll tell you someday. Not in this letter? Carol moved to her sister's. Told you something, I don't know exactly what. Not a lie, probably. But not the whole picture either. You called me on a Thursday evening. I could tell you'd been rehearsing. Your voice had that careful quality it gets when you're trying to be fair to everyone in the room. You said you just wanted to check in. I started explaining the legal situation. I couldn't help it. Documents, timeline, account numbers, the 2014 inheritance transfer specifically. My mother's money 4 months after she died, because I thought that one would make you understand. Make you see it the way I saw it. I was thorough. I gave you everything. You listened to all of it. Then you said, "Dad." And I said, "Yeah," and you said, "I'm not calling about the money." Silence. I said I understood. You were quiet a moment. Then softly, "Okay, Dad. Take care of yourself." And you were gone. I didn't understand. I want to be honest with you about that. I heard, "I'm not calling about the money." And my brain went, what else is there? The case was clear. The numbers were clear. I was 62 years old, and I genuinely believed that if I explained it correctly, you would see it correctly. That's your father. That's who I've always been. A man who thinks the right explanation fixes the thing that needs a different kind of fixing entirely. Marcus called on a Wednesday afternoon while I was at the grocery store, standing in the produce section next to the tomatoes. He said the ruling came through, substantially in my favor. I said okay. He started to say it was significant. I said I knew, thanked him, and hung up. Picked up 2 tomatoes. Paid, drove home. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one, because the house is mine now, and waited to feel something, not celebration. Just something. A shift in the air. The sense that a thing was finished, and the finishing of it meant something. It didn't come. There was just the house and the quiet, and nothing moving anywhere. Here's what came back. The money, all 4 accounts. The legal record. My mother's inheritance. A judge's signature saying what I already knew, which is that it was mine and it had been taken. Carol's responsible for legal costs. She's at her sister's. That part worked exactly as it was supposed to. Here's what didn't. You went quiet after the ruling. 6 weeks. When I reached out, I got brief text back, polite, careful, like you were writing to someone you weren't sure how to be around anymore. The last one you sent on your own, without me texting first. I need some time, Dad. That was 6 weeks ago. I read it so many times the battery on my phone died. You came on a Saturday 4 months later. Stayed 2 hours. I made coffee. We talked about your job, your new apartment, whether the neighborhood was safe. Normal things. I was grateful for the normal things. At some point I started a sentence. Sarah, that Thursday when you called. And then I lost it. The words weren't there. They're never there when it matters. I finished with, you want more coffee? You looked at me 1 second longer than necessary. Said you were good. At the door. Come back whenever. Yeah, Dad. We both stood there knowing it wasn't quite a promise. The week your mother left, I fixed the kitchen tap. She'd been asking me to fix it for 3 years. 40 minutes on a Wednesday. I'm including that here without explanation. You can do with it what you want. This letter is finished now. I'm folding it. I'm taking it to the filing cabinet, second drawer, the one where I found Carol's letter from 2013, the one she never sent. I'm putting mine in there next to it. 2 letters that never went anywhere. Maybe that means something. Maybe it just means I'm my father's son after all, a man who put everything important in a drawer and called it handling it. The refrigerator hums. I can hear it.